All right. Hello. I'm going to ignore the countdown. It's late. I got stuff to do. And I really want to jump on and talk about a topic really quick. I was asked a question today on how to solve an error. And I was sent an error, and I'm like, I know this, I've seen this before, and let's figure out how to solve it together. And so I'm going to switch to my desktop. And this isn't an error that someone had. Well, they were just doing Xamarin.Forms. They have a list view, and they have it listening to a database or to a web server. There's sockets or something involved, and it updates an observable collection. And whenever that observable collection updates, every once in a while, very rarely, they get this crash of exceptions shown, NSInternalInconsistencyException, and they're like, what is going on? How do you even think about debugging this or hunting it down? I'm like, well, I know this one. This is something that we can discuss and figure out. So I've ran into this many times in building iOS native. I haven't really had very many issues with it in Xamarin.Forms. I don't know if I ever had it crash in Xamarin.Forms, but I've had this a lot in iOS. And the reason is iOS has these fancy APIs where you can do like table view dot the source. You tell the source something like this. I'm going to get this totally wrong, but add rows or insert rows. I think it's insert rows, and you tell it what index, and you say like, here's 2 of them that were inserted. And so the way iOS works is whenever it goes to display a table, it says, hey, how many rows are there? So var rows equals tables or source dot rows in section, right? So now it knows it needs to do for this section 10 rows. Let's just say this one's going to say 10, right? Equals 10. Well, then you do this whole insert rows, and we're going to say it like index. It's NS index, right? NS, I think it might be index path. I don't remember. It's something like that. I can never remember that API. But NS something or other, right? And you're going to say we're going to do it at 0, 1. So like insert the first one. Now it's going to call this rows equals source dot rows in section again. And it's going to be like this thing better equal 10. But what if it actually does rows equals 11? That can happen when you're doing asynchronous stuff and you're doing things, this happens. iOS just says nope, and it throws an exception, your app crashes. And since this crash is happening on the iOS side, there's actually nothing you can do to catch this exception. You're screwed. You really are. So don't do that. But in Xamarin.Forms, how do you prevent this from happening? In Xamarin.Forms, you didn't write any of this code. The only thing that you had was, let's actually create a new Xamarin.Forms project and look at the code that you would have written. So let's call this one master details Xamarin.Forms. Let's use this. We're going to call it list view crash, and I'm just going to create this thing. I don't need tests, I don't need get. I'm going to delete this thing when we're done. All right. So we're going to have this list view crash. And once it loads, we'll see what's going on here. I'm going to go into a view. There's this items page. We're going to hijack this thing because it's a list view. We don't need this add button. You can go die, and I don't even need this item source. Oh no, we can leave that there. That's for design time stuff. All right, we're going to leave that there. Now we have a view model for this items view model. Hey, this is actually, I wanted to do, yes, we're also going to kill some other code because I just want to hack this thing to where it's only the code that matters for us. There's all this on selected. We can leave all that. Who cares? Item clicked. We don't need that. On appearing, we're not going to do any of this stuff. We are going to go to the view model, and it has this whole execute. Actually, let's just hijack that. We're just going to leave that how it is. All right, so whenever this page loads, delete that. We don't care about any of that. We have this whole execute load command async. All right. Bye. We don't need any of this. We're going to do our own thing. So all this thing does is it has an observable collection of items. And it's newed up, so there's a new one. I like this API better. Don't ask me why, I just do. But either way, we have this, right? And inside the items page, we have the list view, and the list view item source is bound to items. So it's just going to show us this. Now, if I run this now, it's going to have an empty list with nothing in it. And then we're going to, oh, not on Android. This is an iOS crash. Sorry. Close all my emulators. Run this again. Emulator, please shut down. I don't want to wait for you to start. Goodbye. Goodbye. My X or power button never work on my emulator. Apple quit, or that's the only way I can ever get this thing to quit. Oh, there it might go. Either way, so we have this empty list with nothing in it. Well, like I was saying, in the instance of where most of the time this crash happens, you have a web service. And this web service is going and getting data. Let's go to our view model, and we're going to fake a web service. So we're going to have a task get items int index. I'm just doing this, and I'll show you why later, but we're just going to have that there. So we have this, hey, go get some items, yay! All right, we're going to say pool should get items equals true. We're not actually going to toggle that for now, but good enough. All right, so now we'll say if, while should get items, do this. And actually, we're going to do a task.run. No, we are just going to return task.run. Move that to there, and ta-da! All right, so go run this thing. While true, do this thing. Let's throw a random in here. I like randomizing things because it's more real world. Equals new random. All right, so we're just going to say, and we'll do a int current item ID. All right, so what we'll do here is we're just going to say, let's create, because these things will come in batches, right? So let's say var, actually we'll do var count equals random.get or .next, and we will say 0, 10. Don't give me more than 10 at a time. Maybe we'll say 5. That's a lot. So 5 messages can come back from the server at once. And then we'll do enumerable. I like this API, so I'm going to use it. Oops, wrong one. Get my hotkeys right. Why is that not working? Actually get keycaster on so you guys can see my keys. Right about there. All right. Enumerable.range, we're going to say 0, the count, .select, new item, and we will say ID equals current item ID plus plus, all right? And then we will also say text equals, and this time we're not going to plus equal it. We're going to say current ID, and that should be good enough. That creates our new item. And did I not bring in link? I thought I did. Oh, all right. Perfect. So we just created a bunch of those with new items, and then we will also do var items equals that. Then we will do items.toList.forEach. We'll do items, capital I, .add. All right, so what it'll do is it's going to go and create between 0 and 5 of these. We're going to call this get items 0. So now, we'll throw in a wait in there for good measure. And actually, we don't even need that. We'll just say return. Let whoever else is dealing with it, its job to await it. All right, so now this is going to go and add items. So let's run this again and see what happens. This time we should start getting batches. Oh, that's going to happen really fast. Hold on. I also want to throw in here var wait time equals random dot next between 100, let's say 500, so half a second to 2 sec or 1.1.5 second. All right, and then we'll do await task dot delay. Oh, I didn't make this async. Task dot delay, and we'll say wait time. All right, so if I click run this time, it should now go and build some stuff. All right, and we're just watching these things just come in. All right, perfect. Okay, that looks great. So let's stop this. And that didn't cause our crash. Let's cause our crash more in real time. This thing tends to happen when you're actually using this in real apps and there's a lot of traffic. So let's simulate a lot of traffic by doing var thread count equals random dot. Actually, we're gonna hard code this. What we'll do here is we will say var tasks equals enumerable dot range 0, 2. Let's just start with 2. I'm pretty sure this will happen with 2. And we will do dot select. And this one is just going to be, actually we can just say get items. So now we can even throw some more output in here, console.writeLine, just so we can see in the output what's going on. We'll say thread index created items, and then we'll say count. All right, so that one's going to create those ones. And now we're going to create 2 of these, and we need to now here just say return task.when when all. And we'll just pass those tasks in there. All right, so that's going to create 2 of them that are going to just run off and go. So let's run this and see what happens. Hey, check it out! We got this crash. Now, what are you supposed to do to handle this? The problem is, though, that it's writing, both of those are writing so fast. If we were to console.writeLine what that count was as those are created, we would see that both of them used current ID 0. 2 different threads wrote to the same thing. So a super easy fix for this, I mean, really easy, object. And also, if you guys have questions or you want me to talk about anything else while I'm here, I can do that. But I'm going to answer this one. We're almost done here. We'll say locker equals new object if we right here just say locker while we add those things. Let's run it. So if you're, in this case, we know we have 2 threads going on. It's pretty obvious what we're doing. But in a lot of other instances, if you're talking with a WebSocket or some sort of an API and they're pushing you data, those are going to come from different threads. ObservableCollection is not thread safe. It's just not. And so you've got issues with it. Now I can even bump this up and say, let's do 10 of these and run it. And because I am forcing it to only add them one at a time, it doesn't matter what thread they're coming from, but it's not crashing, and we're getting lots of items added and inserted in, and they're just appearing, which is really fun. And some of these might even appear out of order because we're not locking when we increment that count. So it's very possible for some of these to get out of order. And let's just one-up this and go for like 20 threads just to make sure it's truly thread safe. And there we have it. That is how you can easily prevent your observable collections from getting that insane, crazy crash on iOS. Yeah. All right. Any questions? Any other Xamarin questions? Or C#.net. I can answer some things outside of that. But yeah, our list is growing and it's not crashing. And that's fun. All right, I am going to stop it. All right. If you guys are not going to ask questions and there's nothing else you guys care to know about, I am going to end. It is late. It's 9:30 and it's cold outside. And so, all right. Thanks, guys. Hopefully this is useful for some of you guys, and I am off.